And welcome to the This or That podcast. I'm Joolz, and with me today is Callum.
Hello.
And Ed.
Hello.
So today we'll be looking at this or thatting two magic films. One is The Illusionist, and the other one is The Prestige. So these two films are both about magic. In The Illusionist, it's set in Austria.
Yeah, Vienna.
100 years or so ago. Basically, it's kind of like a romantic film where the main guy is a magician, obviously, and he is got a bit of a love interest, starts from their kids. They break up because of some meanies, and then he's doing magic in Vienna. His love interest is actually a countess who is trying to marry the to-be king of Austria, that kind of empire area, and it's about their kind of triangle of things going on. There's a detective, chief inspector person who's there, which the king, to-be king, tries to use to manipulate stuff. There's lots of magic cracking around, and then there's there's deaths and stuff like that. Or are there? Ooh. And it's about basically, it's like Romeo and Juliet.
Yes,
sort of.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I got. And then The Prestige, on the other hand, is Christopher Nolan, pretty Christopher Nolan-y. And it's two guys trying to outcompete magic-wise, and again, a lot of death stuff. And The Prestige, as you would, the name is all about. Wow, that's pretty cool. And that's pretty much the films. So I was thinking we'd probably just get into it. And what do we think about The Illusionist? What was our first thinkings?
Literally, the first thing I have wrote is credits long and boring.
Yes.
I'm glad this has died. It's very much the end of that era of just putting all the credits at the start. But The Illusionist does it in the worst way, where nothing's happening. Like, it could all just be like magical stuff, like transitions or whatever. Because you can say what you want about like X-Men, but I think Spider-Man 2 does it the best, where the credits are recapping the first film and it's all this nice painting work, which is like traditional comic book stuff. But in this, it's just boring. It's just movies of old where they just put everyone's name at the start of the film. I'm like, oh my God, kill me.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of my notes too, was I was like, fucking hell, this opening sequence is long, isn't it? It's like, get on with it. But yeah.
I think that very much sums up the whole film.
Get on with it.
Yeah, I hadn't watched it before, and within the credits, which was quite a long time, I've got Looks Old, and it didn't get any better in terms of that kind of thing.
No, and it does specifically look old throughout. The start of the film is when these two love interests are younger. It goes on way too long. It's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the film. It felt really long. So it's a big chunk of the film, and it's the way it tells you that it's in the past is that, yes, it has this filter on it.
Yeah.
Like it's a hand crank filming device, a camera. So it has this like vignette on it as well around the edges. Sometimes, but not all the time, because they're not very consistent with it. And it just makes it look bad. And most of the film looks bad. But it gives it like this ethereal kind of glow where it's like, which is kind of like a good idea because it's magic and you like don't know what's real and don't know what's fake. Like when he meets that guy in the woods, and the story is, well, maybe it wasn't real and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, maybe you should tell me, if you're setting up the film, maybe you should tell me what's real. It was a bit of an odd choice.
Yes, I think so. One of my key takeaways was how dark it was.
Yeah.
I was very like, I don't know, it felt like Shakespeare. I don't know very much about Shakespeare, but it felt Shakespeare-y, a bit kind of Romeo and Juliet, dark. I don't know. I thought it was just very moody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't really add anything to the film. If anything, it took things away.
Yeah.
It was very glowing. Like, loads of the magic is like, there's that tree where it's an orange tree, which is cool. It looks cool.
Apparently real. A real trick.
And they mention the trick in both films, don't they? In The Illusionist and The Prestige, they mention both that specific trick.
Oh, do they?
Okay.
But it seems like both these films were set around a similar time, just in different places.
Yeah.
So it's the turn of the century.
late
basically,
1800s.
because the king in this, his cousin, you know how his cousin goes for the sword at one point in the film?
Yes.
That's Franz Ferdinand.
Yes.
So this is predates World War One and the
yes, it's all before that.
yeah. So it's like the turn of the century where kind of both films are like the turn of the century where the world's becoming smaller. Like you know you don't necessarily know these people and you know these cultures, but the way you get around it's seemingly in the magic world. The way you get around explaining anything is like, oh, it's from the Orient. Oh, it's mysterious, and it's just
ether was like a big thing, wasn't it? It was like the kind of ether of everything for the magic stuff.
Yeah, just the old ways of the East coming over. But then I just think The Illusionist has no good story throughout it. Like the plot's very boring because it is just Romeo and Juliet, but like I don't care about either of those characters. I especially don't care about Edward Norton because he seems annoying, and his accent is terrible.
Bit up himself.
Very up himself, even though he's meant to be like the poor kid, you know? It's like poor versus kind of rich kind of scenario. The class divide, because the woman is, a countess, so they can't be together. They were going to run away together. And then he loves her so much, he disappears for 15 years, and then the only reason they reconnect is a chance meeting.
A chance magical.
You loved it, did you?
Yeah. And when she does meet him, it's like she pretends that she doesn't know who he is to save face at the show. It
seems like she didn't. For what I gathered is that she genuinely didn't know who he was.
Yeah, and then
I'm like, not a very strong connection then, either.
Well,
not at all.
People do look different.
Yeah, for sure. But if the point of your film
is that it's romantic,
is that they're soulmates or whatever, and they're destined to be with each other, then the first time they see each other, they should lock eyes and be like, "Oh my god!" Like the scene in Romeo and Juliet, the Leonardo DiCaprio film. Like when they first lay eyes on each other, like they can't look away. You know. Yeah.
Someone loves Romeo and Juliet.
No, well, it's
all right.
It's all right.
Yeah, I think it's a
good story.
Famously, but yeah, it feels very traditional. It feels very, very linear, just very like a kind of very simple story. Obviously, it's, we're talking about magic here, obviously, and I do love magic / hate it. But it's like quite a charming magic. It's kind of like very gentle. He does like the orange tree, which goes from a seed to an orange. He does the kind of illusion of like a person, like the silhouette of people, and it's a very gentle. And then it's very much like when you, I don't know if you have, but if you watch musical like classical music. Back then they would do like an amazing piece of music and everyone would go, oh, very good, and like do a little clap, and like that was the pinnacle of entertainment.
Yeah, it is so funny in both these films what the pinnacle of entertainment was in the early 19th century, because they'll just kind of reveal something on a big machine or something on stage, and everyone will be like, oh my god, and clap. And just like, if you did that nowadays, everyone would be like, get on with it. Why are you taking 2 minutes to reveal something?
Like
get on with
comedy,
it,
isn't it? It's like when you see like the old slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Like, it's like always falling over, ha ha, and it's like, well, that's sort of shit.
Some of those old slapstick comedies where like it's the big stunt shows.
Yeah,
they're very impressive.
I used to love Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, but
that one, the plank. Where they've got to move that plank. And it's that classic one where every time he turns, he's got it over his shoulder with the big plank, and he turns around and knocks him off a ladder or knocks him off something. And they're just trying to move this one thing. But back then that was like
moving stuff is
the pinnacle of comedy.
Yeah, delivery removals and stuff seems to be like they had the piano going up a big flight of stairs. Moving stuff around seems to be a big comedy part. But anyway, going off topic there. So, what about the Prestige then? What's our initial thinking about the Prestige?
The Prestige is just so much better.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it, and I think it's proven because they're kind of the same. They try and do the same thing in the films, which Christopher Nolan is a master at, which is playing with the time. Which is playing with the time of the story. And obviously Christopher Nolan is incredible at that and does it in most of his films. But there's something like 200 time changes in the Prestige, and you can follow the entire thing. Like, it makes sense.
It demands attention.
It demands attention for sure. Christopher Nolan demands attention.
I mean, he's an attention seeker.
Yeah.
a demander of attention.
And he deserves it, to be quite frank. Yeah. Brilliant films. And yeah, whereas The Illusionist tries to do some of that stuff where, like, you don't get the whole piece of the information, and we go back and forth a little bit, but nowhere near as much. And it's worse. It's just worse and more confusing. Obviously, spoilers ahead for both these films. But Jessica Biel, the love interest in The Illusionist, dies.
Yes.
And I was so uncertain of whether she had actually died or not.
So she doesn't die.
Oh no, she doesn't die.
So that's the prestige of The Illusionist.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The problem is, it's almost like, because The Illusionist is not very good, I don't really mind at the end. It's not very, because I'll be honest with you, I actually didn't watch the end because I fell asleep.
It's finally happened. We're 3 in, and it's happened already.
But it was, I mean, I really
You
tried.
are
I did go
ridiculous.
back and look at it, because I was like, I do need to know what
Those clips you said you were going to watch this morning were actually...
some of The Illusionist.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any clips because no one was bothered about them to make the clips. But
They hadn't made it onto YouTube.
I read the plot on Wikipedia. And it's not a great
Are you
payoff.
taking the piss? Did you actually do that?
Yeah, but I watched so much of this film.
Just
Ed, you watched like 95% of this film we're talking
It was
about, all right?
That is good going for you, to be fair. That is good going.
He's only hosting this episode, okay?
Yeah.
You forgot the ending anyway.
I did forget the
So
ending. But I watched it.
That's the bit. Yeah, but I mean, it's madness. The bit I didn't watch.
I mean,
is the
even
bit where-
I watched it too. I mean, late, but I still watched it all.
I tried. I couldn't watch it again.
Just watch it from where you left
Well,
off.
what this conversation is proving is that it is boring, and it is incredibly boring. And unfortunately, the payoff of her being alive, the reason I forgot it is because it's so weak. Because it doesn't happen to get the king. It, like, nothing comes of it. She's just hiding. So, like, no one else knows she's alive. So it's not
It's romantic.
but it's not the Prestige then, because the Prestige, as we're told in the Prestige, is basically the reveal of the trick.
But the reveal is to the detective, so it's much more low key.
But he doesn't see her.
But that's where he goes to at the end. He looks at he has the trick stolen. And he's like, it must be that actually this is a trickery. Is the idea?
Yeah, but he doesn't know that Jessica Biel is alive.
He doesn't know, but he suspects.
Great. That's not a Prestige then, right? That's not a reveal of, oh, this woman that you thought was dead that I'm doing interesting hologram stuff.
But that's the whole
used to
point.
do.
It's kind of like, oh, you don't know. It's a bit more kind of like, surrealist kind of. It is that. I mean, that's kind of what the film's about.
I get it, but
It's rubbish.
the payoff, there's no payoff then
But
for
the
the
film
characters within the film, so it doesn't make sense.
But it fits because the film isn't very good.
Yeah,
So
right,
the
fair enough.
payoff.
But it's also just very unnecessary. That whole plot that they make to run away together. I mean, I know it's a film, but
They love each other.
yeah, but it's just all the shit they do I just found really
Yeah.
unnecessary and like very self-indulgent, which kind of made me not like the characters even more than I originally did in the start of the film. Do you know what I mean?
I
tedious.
had a point around where, like, she died and he was doing the holograms of her ghost, but not really, of all part of the plan, because you can just tell straight away that whether she's alive or dead, like, this is all part of a plan that has not been revealed to us yet.
Because in the end, the prince dies. He shoots himself.
He shoots himself.
So in
yeah.
the end, they don't actually need to be in secret,
No.
because the only person who wants to do anything is dead.
Yeah.
So that is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for
It's
the
not very
characters.
romantic if they just
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Exactly, because then the murder mystery of it, which is why it becomes, they set up a prince for a murder he didn't do as well. That's why he kills himself, but he didn't actually murder her.
Yes, and because I mean,
And
so
I know he it's said in the film that he basically has murdered his other wives and whatever. So
Yeah,
he kind of deserves it. But
Yeah, he threw one of them off a balcony and
yeah,
they see other
beat
ones
one,
beaten
so-
up. Yeah,
but like the Illusionist,
which is not good.
The
No.
Illusionist is Edward Norton versus the Prince. So I don't know who that is, who's acting that. But so that's the rivalry. Whereas in the Prestige, it's Hugh Jackman
two men
versus Christian Bale
in so
their
many
prime.
fake beards and mustaches,
You
just
don't know
fucking
what's
each other
going
over.
on.
Honestly, so whenever they're wearing big mustaches and mutton chops, so great, so funny to watch.
Because basically, so again, it's basically about death. So Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman wife, there's a thing that they do, some magic thing.
There's an escape from a water tank, and
she doesn't escape.
She doesn't escape. She's very good at it. And basically, these two are early on in their career, and they work for this escape artist undercover in the audience. So they'll go up and set it up. You know, it's all a con job because everything was, you know, it's all an illusion after all. It's magic. And Christian Bale, well, big spoiler here, there's two of them because there's brothers, twins. And the idea is that him and the wife want to do this harder knot because she's like, no, I can fucking do it. I can do this knot. But the one that they have the conversation with is not the one who does the knot. So he does a different knot, and that's why she can't escape because she's expecting a different kind of knot. So she doesn't have the time to have the realization, oh, this isn't that knot, I can undo this other knot, but she doesn't have any more time because obviously she's drowning.
And that's the thing though, that the Prestige is rewatchable, and you should rewatch it.
Yeah,
because
this is my rewatch, and for you as well. I mean, if basically, let's talk about the Christian Bale reveal actually, because Ed hasn't. You never watched it before.
I'd never watched either of them.
No, so I watched this. I watched the Prestige when I was like 14. So I cannot remember if I knew it was Christian Bale in makeup standing next to Christian Bale. On a rewatch, it's obviously Christian Bale. Like you get a clear shot of his face, and it's like, yeah, that's just Christian Bale. So for me rewatching it was very obvious, but it's because I already knew as well. For you, did you know?
I had an inkling. Something was going to happen.
Did you know that his financier was Christian? Was also
no, mate.
You had no idea, even when like they show close-ups of his face.
My initial thought was that because you know how is it Angier, the Hugh Jackman's character, how he was wanting that machine to be made, the Tesla machine, David Bowie's machine.
Yeah.
The David.
Yeah, I thought that Christian Bale's character had already had a machine like that made for him before.
Well, that's why, because that's why Angier goes to it.
Yeah, because that's why he goes to Tesla.
Diary, so it's a fake diary.
So then I was like,
well, we'll get into that in a second.
So I thought like, oh, is he his twin, like actual biological born together twin brother, or is it a clone of him from that machine? That's what I was like.
Which I think is what they're going for. Yeah. That is kind of like.
But they're never in the same room together for very long, and like there's a bit in the bit that first aroused my suspicions was when
he took off all the makeup and there was two Christian Bale.
yeah then I was like,
I knew it.
nailed it was when I
have a suspicion that they're the same man.
It was like maybe about halfway through when Christian Bale's wife gets home, and they're like building illusions and tricks and stuff in the flat, in the apartment that they're in. And then as she walks in, he leaves straight away and doesn't say anything. It's kind of like the first time you get an actual longer look at him, and then he looks like somebody in disguise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So even if it wasn't like, Christian Bale, it would still be someone.
And I did say, I was watching it with my mum, and I said, I did say to her, he's definitely going to be a big reveal at some point.
And then he was.
I didn't know specifically if it was going to be his brother, but I knew he was going to be a massive part of the ending. Yeah.
I mean, I was 14 when I watched this, so big. Honestly, I was. I was given 3 Christopher Nolan films on DVDs by my English teacher, and literally, I would not have had. I know I did not understand these films back then the way I do now.
There's a lot to understand.
Yeah, but there's so much information in the Prestige and like exposition of like the tricks and all that stuff, but it's just done so well. Through narration or whatever else, like you just get it and you follow it, and it's so good. Whereas in The Illusionist, it's so unclear what's real and what's not. Where in the Prestige, the thing that pushes it over the edge is the replicator machine. I believe everything up until that point is like real and based in reality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's the sci-fi.
Whereas The Illusionist, on reading up about it, pretty much everything is real. But it looks fake. So then I'm like, oh, all this shit's fake, and like none of this is based in reality. you know, it's not like a biopic by any means, but like I feel when you're talking about magic, you need to have what like is in history and like what's real. And apparently all the even the holograms, even the way you do a hologram is you get a recording and like bounce it off a mirror into some smoke, and you get a hologram. That's sick. But it's never revealed in the film. It's never revealed in the film how they do anything.
It's a mystery kind of like old school kind
They're
of.
They're putting magic on top of magic tricks, but we're in a period where like none of that really plays. Like people want to know how it actually works, I feel, and with the Prestige you get to see how it actually works. I think that makes it so much better.
But that is the thing though, because magic is all about that kind of. The class thing is like when you reveal it, no one's impressed.
Yeah, and that's what they talk about in the Prestige all the time.
But actually, I'm more impressed when I find out.
Yeah, because it's so clever.
Yeah,
especially in the early 19th century when basically all you've got is mirrors and ropes. Like it's very clever. These people are very clever.
That's what I mean. That is what's changing with like the Tesla thing. It's like, oh, look at this crazy stuff, and they have that big electric thing that's like sparking off, and it's all a bit dangerous.
Yeah,
and I think certainly from some of the programs I've watched, you can see how people are like, people are inventing things which look more and more like magic.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a good time to do a film like this. Whereas in The Illusionist, it doesn't. Even though The Illusionist is set at a very similar time, it feels very old school, kind of a bit stuffy.
Yeah, I just would have preferred in The Illusionist that it feels real, and then gets to like the last third when she's dead, and then it gives the kind of impression that maybe Edward Norton is magic. Maybe what he's been doing are like real tricks based in the reality of our world that is documented, and then the last third of the film, how he is able to trick everyone in the town is that maybe he is magic. Maybe because there's like because also they pretend she's dead for like 3 years or something. It's like a crazy long time.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of tricks for ages.
It's like crazy long.
Yeah.
Imagine pretend to be dead and like away from everyone for 3 years. It's crazy. Like speed up the plan. But yeah, maybe if like he went away to the Orient again, because he's already been in his 15 years, and then he came back and there was this allure of, oh, maybe he's magic, which is what the film is like kind of doing. But because everything else before is also set up like it's magical, there's no separation, there's no distinction of why is him suddenly summoning ghosts, which are these hologram, you know, these things, the light bounced off the mirrors,
smoke and mirrors.
Like, why is this more impressive than what he did earlier? Because what the film is telling me is that it's been magic the entire time.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. I just got. I mean, yeah, I was a little bit bored by it all.
Well, you were asleep.
Yeah, I wasn't sleeping. I was awake for a fair portion of the film. I never thought it was real magic.
No.
But that's because I know.
But also because he had a workshop.
Yeah,
and he was
a
very skilled carpenter. And
I do have a note on his carpentry. Because he makes that like necklace thing for her
with a secret lock or a secret way to open it. Yeah,
and I've put he could make so much crap on Temu nowadays.
Yeah, he could.
He's like quite good at carpentry. Like
he's very good at carpentry.
Very good. Like he could have made a good living off.
Well,
that.
they say because in
well, actually no, he has shit tons of money.
I was going to say he was doing quite well for himself doing magic.
Yeah, I've got a different career.
But they all never had money.
The best. Yeah, like with the, you know, when he sends the plans to the inspector at the end of the orange tree trick and stuff, and it's all like cogs and, you know, moving parts and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the inspector's always just trying to do the right thing in the movie throughout the whole time he's involved. He's always actually just trying to do his job. And then he's got a dictator telling him, you know, like, I mean, yeah, he is torn between maybe, I do want to like be...
I mean, he does very much emphasise he is going to police brutality Edward Norton at one point.
The context of the time.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, he's not. I wouldn't say he's the right. I don't need to try and do the right thing, but he's certainly, you know, he could be a much worse person. I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what it tries to get across.
For sure.
But I think like he could have pursued. Yeah, and
he also loves magic. I think that's kind of like if you didn't love magic, so much, he might have been an absolute horrible bastard.
Detective So a detective detects, like he someone who's a detective should be able to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do you do the orange tree magic trick? I can't figure it out.
That's because he's the best magician of the time. So he's a detective up against the best, and that's why it's
Edward
I think
Norton.
that's not a bad little bit. I think it's
done better. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
If it drove him into like actual madness, I think that would be better. Like if you display it as like he is the best detective,
it is a bit
and he
mundane.
can't figure out. Say he could figure out every other trick, but he can't figure out the orange tree, and that's like maddening him. That would be better. Whereas he doesn't seem to understand any magic trick, even though he says, "I know some magic."
They do the most simple magic trick ever. He gives him that one, like the one with the ball in his hand, and he says, "Put your hand on your head," and then he guesses, and it's like, well, it's because one hand's paler, the blood strain from it.
When you believe that at all, by the way.
There is some weight to it.
If you put your hand there but in the film, I could believe that in a show you get someone to keep their hand up for like a prolonged amount of time, but in the film he holds his hand at his head for like 5 seconds. Your blood's not rushing anywhere, is it, really?
I mean, I don't know enough about biology to...
I mean, me and Elliot, friend of the show, literally did it there and then. He literally did it with his
But he's probably got
hands.
special eyes.
He's got what?
Special eyes. Got super special eyes or something.
Who?
Edward Norton.
Oh, I thought you meant Elliot.
I did too.
No, but Elliot did it.
He's got lovely eyes.
And he did it for the amount of time that you are shown in the film, and nothing changed.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think when I was thinking about The Illusionist, I was wondering whether or not, obviously the story in of itself is interesting enough, but kind of the way they do it, it's almost pointless it being a film. Like it just feels a bit kind of mundane, really.
Yeah.
I feel
Whereas then you go to the Prestige and you're like, this is incredible.
And what did you think about the sci-fi element of it? Because
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously are.
Yeah, obviously I love it.
Because I think for me, as soon as it goes into that realm, I kind of get taken out of it. I'm like,
whereas I think the juxtaposition of real into then fiction is good, because otherwise you're just showing real magic tricks for 2 hours.
Yeah, which I don't mind.
And I certainly don't think Christopher Nolan would like that either. I mean,
he's got to have something, like
something out there, because
weird.
otherwise, what is it? It's just two men in disguises fucking each other over. Like, there's only so far you can go with that, I feel. So I think the replicator, transporter, whatever you want to call it, I think is a good inclusion, and it does delve into what you're saying about like people like Tesla are making machines and understanding science so well that the common man thinks it's magic.
It feels like, I think this is, I mean, I can't necessarily remember any examples, but it feels like a kind of classic Christopher Nolan thing of grounding the film in something is actually real. Like they use Edison and Tesla and
push
it's like,
it.
Oh, the main characters aren't real, but you actually heard of this, so it feels like you're kind of placed in reality.
Yeah, the first half of the film is very real, very realistic, as far as I can tell, and then it takes this leap, and that's kind of like what all his films are pretty much. And then he plays with the timey-wimey, stuff, which makes the narrative just so much more interesting. Because apparently first off, most of the film is Christian Bale reading the Notebook of Hugh Jackman.
No, the other way around.
No, he is reading the Notebook of Hugh Jackman, and in that Notebook of Hugh Jackman, he is reading Christian Bale's notebook.
Yes. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
So that plays into Christopher Nolan and the time differences, which he loves. But apparently that is what the book is, because these are both based on books.
Yeah, both
by the way. And apparently the Prestige is just two men reading each other's journals, which that sounds boring as fuck. Yes. Thank you, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you still put it in the film, and it wasn't boring. Like that's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I enjoyed that twist, if you like, at the end, towards the end, because you kind of first time watching it, you're watching it like, where is this going to go? How is this going to come to its conclusion, and then when that's revealed, it's sort of like, holy shit,
Yeah.
didn't see that coming.
Because the revelation about the notebooks is that they're both planted notebooks as well, journals. Christian Bale leaves his one first to be found by Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, it's
does Scarlett Johansson give it to both of them? She does it both, right?
Yeah, she does it both.
She does it both ways, yeah. So Scarlett Johansson teams up with Hugh Jackman, teams up with Christian Bale, gives Hugh Jackman a fake journal, and then Hugh Jackman does the same thing to Christian Bale, which probably is doesn't make sense for the plot, because you'd think Christian Bale would be smart enough to be like, well, I already did this to Hugh Jackman, maybe he's just giving me a fake
because
journal.
Hugh Jackman does it to Christian Bale first through Scarlett Johansson.
No.
Is that right?
No.
Oh.
No, because Christian Bale is reading the journal in the prison, which is the end of the film.
Yeah.
Which timeline is the end of the film.
Yes.
Whereas Hugh Jackman is reading Christian Bale's book on his travels to America, before he gets to Nikola Tesla Tower, which in timeline I would say is somewhere near the middle.
tries to do over Scarlett Johansson, but then Scarlett Johansson forms up with Christian Bale to then do over Hugh Jackman. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty sure. Sorry. Yes.
This is the thing about Christopher Nolan.
But whilst you're watching the film, it all makes sense, and then you get three idiots around a table, and it's like, I can't quite remember actually.
I watched it a couple of days ago, and it's a blur, man.
I watched it 2 days ago, and it is a blur, especially watching those two films back to back.
Yeah. The other interesting thing I've found out, though, that was like in both films they actually did learn like sleight of hand magic.
Yeah.
And most of the tricks that they did.
The ball stuff with Christian Bale.
And like
the penny and
and the sleight of hand stuff. Even Ed Norton learnt some sleight of hand tricks as well, like with the pennies and the cards and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Got trained by actual real life professional magicians and stuff.
There's a lot of magic consultants,
which
is cool. I think that's great.
Cool. It is cool, but I would argue that is the minimum.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But I'm just saying. Like,
if you had a guy and he's constantly like playing with a penny and he just keeps dropping it, I'll go, well, you're not.
Yeah.
We'll have to cut that out.
I really liked. I think my favorite,
unless it's on purpose, like Christian Bale does at the end.
Yeah, my favorite trick in the film is in the Prestige is when he's in jail and that dickhead guard comes over and he's like throwing the ball up and stuff, and then pretends to fuck up the trick, but the actual trick is that he's cuffed the guard's leg to a table.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. Like I was just like, oh, that was good. That was pretty good.
It's like the fun side of magicians, because it's almost like, a comedian will always say, "Oh, tell us a joke." So if you're a magician, everyone's gonna be like, do a bit of magic. So they're always gonna have little things like that up their sleeve. They're gonna have. They can't just do like these huge tricks. They have to do little ones, and that's probably how they would have built up. So it does. They need to be able to do that.
Yeah, I do. On the topic of the replicator, because this is an argument that's been had since Star Trek came out. Don't know if you ever heard this argument of
probably not.
The transporter in Star Trek is not a transporter, it's a replicator. The same way this is, that you get destroyed and then it sends your atoms and recreates you somewhere else.
I see.
So are you the same? Because it's whether you believe in a soul or not. Like, are you the same person? Would you be willing, because Hugh Jackman, as the greatest showman, is willing to do anything to put on the greatest show?
That's the point in the films, though, isn't
that's the point. I told you it was going to be.
He's found a way, guys. He's found a way.
On and off screen, the greatest showman.
Yeah.
Are you willing to kill yourself for something like that?
Or at least risk doing something weird?
Personally, no.
You don't like... Is it because you just don't want to experience it, or do you think that's just not you?
I mean, I don't think I'd go into the sparky machine in the first place. Just give it a miss, I reckon.
It's also, you don't know what's going to happen, do you? Like, it's like, someone else has done it, but are you going to die? Even if you might not then get replicated anyway, because it might just not work.
Yeah, but
machines break.
Wouldn't that work? I mean, this might be a bit of a reach, but also thinking about like Rick and Morty, how they use the portals, but in that's parallel universes.
Well, portals and
timelines.
Wormholes are meant to be different because they're meant to be like a wormhole is 2 points in space, touching each other.
Yeah.
So you're not getting
vaporized,
deatomized.
Yeah.
To then be recreated somewhere else. It is you being transported through a wormhole, like in Stargate, basically.
Yeah.
The idea is that these 2 points in space, however you do it. You know, black holes are theorized to be that they touch, so you can go in and out. Whereas this replicator, I mean, in this one, it doesn't destroy the person, so you're not. It is literally replicating whatever is in the machine. Like when he kills himself, when he first does it, and he shoots two Jackmen. Like,
nice.
Thank you. Like, is that the same? Like what is that? Like, in terms of a soul, in terms of what, you know, whatever you deem to be life, consciousness, like.
Well, it's playing with the two big things in life. It's like, you know, life and death. It's like the kind of, you've got the clone element of stuff, and then you also have the death thing, which is like, if you look at magic, it's a classic like Britain's Got Talent thing, isn't it? Of like, Simon Cowell wants to see people almost die because that's the most exciting thing that can happen, and that's, you know, both these films. The Prestige does it much more obviously, and the other one's just a fake death, boring. But those are the things, and there's never going to be any answers to them. But I mean, it's certainly, you know, I think it's quite cool, but it's also a bit. I find it a bit too weird.
Yeah, I mean, at
the end they burn that the building gets burned down. There's just loads and loads of tubs of Hugh Jackman. And that's weird.
Yeah, so Hugh Jackman, he was going for 100 shows with that replicator.
Yeah.
So I believe by the end of the film they said there's 70 Hugh Jackmans underneath the basement. Like he got.
Where's he getting all that matter from? Where's it all coming from?
Well, that's the replicator machine, you know.
Maybe he's taking it from parallel universe.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, like, the Hugh Jackman at the end of the film that then gets shot by Christian Bale, he is 70 plus because of then the two Jackman as well. He is 70 plus versions away from his original self.
But that's one of the questions I wanted to ask. Which is the weirder thing to do? Is it Hugh Jackman replicating himself, or is it Christian Bale 1 and Christian Bale 2?
Christian Bale 1 and Christian Bale 2 seem like very plausible.
But is it as in the weirdest, the one that you would least likely to want to do?
Well, yeah, I'm terrified of death, so I'm definitely not going to do the replicator.
Christian Bale, when he has to chop his own thumb off and stuff, or finger.
And that's Hugh Jackman's fault because he shot him in the hand.
Yeah, I know, but you're going to have to do it. You've done this weird thing where you're two people, but you're one person and it's Chinese.
I'll say this right now. So this film basically is an escalation of them going to each other's magic shows and fucking up the magic show to get one over on them. And Christian Bale... Bale's character, presumably it's the because that's another thing of this film, you have to kind of figure out which twin it is at whatever time, because they swap places all continuously. He keeps going to Hugh Jackman's shows and fucking him over because he killed his wife. Christian Bale killed Hugh Jackman's wife. Maybe leave it alone. I don't think it's particularly fair.
But it's Hugh, no, because he kills Hugh Jackman's wife and then Hugh Jackman shoots his fingers off.
That's not the same.
I know it is not the same.
Not the same.
But you know, he gets pissed.
Leave him alone.
This is the whole thing.
You know what Christian Bale should have done at that point? Yeah, fair enough, mate.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, fair enough, mate.
Fair enough, mate.
What?
Just the way that they all go about it is a bit weird, and they're just so.
I mean, it is all a bit weird.
They're just so
men of desire.
But I sort of empathise more with Christian Bale's character than I do Hugh Jackman's. Like Hugh Jackman is way more. He's the one that's always
toughed. That's why.
Yeah, and he's always chasing and always trying to be the best, and then gets absolutely done in.
He's
at the
willing
end.
to put the greatest show on ever.
And like,
great showman.
But when he's being the greatest showman ever, or you know whatever, he then manipulates Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, he's not good. Yeah, he's not.
And he's a showman. He's not really he's a magician in that he performs the tricks, but he's not. He is more of a showman. Like Michael Caine is the main magician man behind him.
Michael Caine is actually the perpetrator of all these tricks,
and he plays it very well.
Which, like with Hugh Jackman, is proven when he gets his London counterpart. Like they go out and find a double for him because Michael Caine, rightly so, because he's actually the magic man, knows how Christian Bale is doing it. He believes Christian Bale has a double. That double just turns out to be his twin brother.
Yeah.
So Michael Caine is correct throughout the entire film, but Hugh Jackman doesn't believe him and believes he could do better and blah blah blah, and that's how he gets to Tesla. But I do love London Hugh Jackman with those fake teeth.
With the alcoholic.
He's so.
It did take me a minute to think, like, have they just got somebody who looks really like him, or is it actually him?
Christopher Nolan's a genius.
Yeah. Like that casting is phenomenal. Whoever that is like take a bow some. But honestly, that
He comes in and he does the whole actor, the like out of work actor, drunk. Oh yes, darling, stuff.
Yeah. And then when he realizes that he can ask for more money and stuff like that,
and then
that's really funny.
Gives him that gummy smile and the little wave as he's going up the trap door.
Yeah. It does almost. It kind of gets you because in that bit they have the bit where they crush the bird. So it's like a thing where you have like a device on his body, and then it's like a bird in a cage, and then the cage.
They slam the cage,
and you have another dove come out, but actually they've just crushed the dove.
Bird. Well, in that one, actually, they don't crush the dove, the one that Hugh Jackman wears. Michael Caine sets it up to a little string, and it pulls the dove, so you're actually revealing the same dove. But the old school style is you just have the smasher, and
which is almost like a foreshadowing of the kind of you're going to kill something to then reappear.
But then in that trick,
but yeah, because he's against it. That's why Michael Caine does it specifically. He's against killing this animal for the trick, and in the end, he's willing to kill himself to be the greatest showman.
Yeah, but I always think that Michael Caine is backing he backs the wrong horse, I think, throughout the whole film. Like, he sticks with the wrong person.
They're both not very nice horses.
I mean, I thought he was...
But out of the two...
Christian Bale is nicer,
yeah.
What I remember is that he was on Christian Bale's side.
Yeah, but he's still working for Hugh Jackman.
I was actually quite surprised. I mean, they both know Michael Caine from the start, because Michael Caine is...
But Michael Caine he's not needed by Christian Bale.
No, because Christian Bale has it.
And he can also do the magic. He can do it, whereas Hugh Jackman can't. So he knows he's got work with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
He can't really work for Christian Bale.
I mean, in real life, obviously, Hugh Jackman has got it, because he's a song and dance man. Triple threat.
The greatest show.
The greatest show. Another thing I had from the Prestige, a question is, whose baby is it?
Yes.
Which twin's baby is it?
Well, it's the one that loves her. Because there's only one that because that's what she says. Well, it's like, you're two people. Sometimes you love me, sometimes you don't.
Just because he loves the kid doesn't mean it's necessarily his. Because there would be no way for them to tell whose child that is.
No, because
they're both banging the wife.
Yeah, but you assume because basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make it explicitly clear. They're both banging the wife. They're both banging ScarJo.
I mean, so there's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But you would assume that.
But I think that's just his character. Like his
he
not character, but like as a person, he loves his wife.
Yes.
So therefore, he loves the child.
And it doesn't really matter who's who.
To him, it doesn't matter whose kid that is because they are one person. They're living one life,
and they've become one. Yeah, exactly.
But doesn't necessarily mean it's his kid.
It's a bit weird that one twin is just like a bit of a knob. Compared to the other one.
That twin is on a rewatch. He's always the one pushing it. He's the one that wants to go further, and he's the one that's obsessed with. Yeah, he's the one that's obsessed with magic, and that's why he's the one in the prison at the end.
Yes,
because the other twin tells him to leave it alone. We don't need to see Hugh Jackman's greatest show on earth. So yeah, he's the one in the prison at the end because he can't leave it alone, and he goes to the greatest show on earth performed by the greatest showman. I put it in. Couldn't help myself. No, you can't edit it around it.
Can't resist.
Can number 25.
Staying in. And and ultimately that's his undoing. I do think it's very odd that it kind of is prime for a prison break, and it just doesn't do it. It's almost like within that show, when he sees Hugh Jackman do his show, you almost get that sense of, because he goes back multiple times, I believe. When he first sees it, he's like, oh, I'm done. Like, this is the greatest. Like, I couldn't do this trick. Like, this is incredible. And I know that's not a double. I know he hasn't got a twin. Like, Christian Bale is very aware of Hugh Jackman's capabilities. So I think even for Christian Bale, he's like, well, that one twin anyway that's obsessed with magic, he's like, I think the reason he doesn't try and escape and he's very subdued in the prison is because he's like, I'm done. There is no better than this.
Also, I mean, the thing about magic is you control all the elements.
Yeah.
And in a prison, you don't control any of the elements. Don't say again.
Yeah. So yeah, I just, I think that's interesting. I mean, the whole twin stuff is very interesting on rewatch. I would definitely recommend. Maybe don't give it 14 years in between the viewings.
No.
Although I did remember most of this film. I was actually quite impressed at how much of this film I remembered.
The only film I've ever watched that has a similar premise to this one, but any
other Christopher Nolan film?
No. As in, like, the twist being about twins living the same life. is a film called What Happened to Wednesday. It's in a like a dystopian world where you're only allowed to have one child or two children.
Oh,
And then there's septuplets, and each one of them has a day of the week. So one's called, they're named Monday to Sunday. And then they
Christopher Waltz, their dad in that, or something like that.
Someone like that, yeah. But that's the only film I've seen where like
Naomi Rapace or something.
Yes, that's her. Yeah, but it's very good. But it's like when I was watching The Prestige, I was like trying to think: is there any other films? I mean, the Lindsay Lohan one. What's that? But they don't actually know that there's no trick.
Oh yeah, the two sisters, twins.
Parent Trap.
Yeah.
Good
film.
Yeah. But I really liked the way that it was revealed at the end, even though you sort of know where it's. I think you do sort of know where
and
it's
going. It's called The Prestige. So the reveal has to be
good, yeah.
And in The Illusionist, the reveal, as we talked about, is shit.
Yeah.
There's no payoff. Whereas in the film where everything kind of comes to a head and you learn everything, and Michael Caine learns it as well. It just pays off all the characters in it.
Yeah, The Illusionist, it's sort of, you're talking about Romeo and Juliet and stuff. It gave me like a Three Musketeers vibes. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of like.
Three Musketeers.
Do you mean just because of all the twirled up mustaches?
Like D'Artagnan.
The Musketeers is set in like France, kind of European. It's very European, as is The Illusionist.
But and it's I always forget his name, but Kick-Ass is the young kid.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is the young kid, and is young Ed Norton, and then young Duchess is whatever.
Duchess?
She's in.
Did not recognise the young Duchess.
She's in stuff now as an adult. I think she's in like Poldark or something, and like some other bits and bobs, like costume dramas. She's been in a lot of them.
Well, I did actually make a note of The Illusionist, GCSE acting, BBC drama shit.
Yep,
because I said GCSE award.
Yeah,
minimalism. Because Philip Glass is the soundtrack, and so it's minimalist. That reminded me of GCSE.
Right, okay, yeah, I did. Like it very, very much gave me that vibe. And then as soon as Max from EastEnders popped up, I was like, oh, this is the level we're working at.
Edward Norton is a well-regarded actor.
He's an Oscar winner, isn't he?
And I think
Ed Norton is up there with one of my favourite ever actors.
He's a great actor, but this is around the period where he was doing films he didn't want to do because he's contractually obliged, which is the Italian Job. He's contractually obliged to do that. The Incredible Hulk is like a year or two after this, something like that, and he hated doing that. But Edward Norton, from what I've heard, is a prick.
Oh,
like pretty much everyone who's worked with him, especially in this kind of period, these 10 years, he's just an arsehole, and he's always fighting with the director. He always wants to do basically too much of what the film is asking, which I think is fair enough. Apparently, he did that with American History X and American History X. I think that's what he won the Oscar for. So it's proven to work, and that's kind of the problem. It's proven to work for him before, so he's just going to try and do it every time. Because I like Edward Norton. He's great in any Wes Anderson film, which actually I do have a note of. The film at the start is trying to be Wes Anderson.
Yes.
It drops it after you get to the present day. But in the past, it very much feels like it's trying to be...
Yeah, for sure.
I've written Woody Allen down. I don't know why I've done that.
Did you mean Wes Anderson?
I don't know. I've written, but I don't know if that was...
I haven't watched much Woody Allen. It's like Annie Hall and...
I've written Scoop Woody Allen. I don't know why I've written that.
Yeah, I can't remember what Scoop is about either. But
anyway, what people think about these films is quite interesting as well, because the reviews of The Illusionist are along the same lines as what we're saying, but also some people love it.
Ratings are very on IMDb. The rating is very similar.
7.5 for The Illusionist. For Illusionist, yeah, and then for The Prestige, it's 8.5 on IMDb, but the Rotten Tomatoes are within 2% of each other.
Oh, that's what I must have seen.
The Rotten Tomatoes is 74%, Illusionist 76%,
which is insane.
And also the box office stuff is crazy. So the budget of The Illusionist is 16.5, box office 88.
Wait, so sorry. The Illusionist cost 16.5 million. That's so cheap.
And made 88. The Prestige is 40 million, box office 110. So profit of 70 for The Prestige and 72 for The Illusionist. So The Illusionist makes more money box office wise.
I mean, that is so cheap though.
I mean, but I can
Even
see why it's cheap, because everything's just dark. They just do it in.
I bet they did it on. I bet they did it on location.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you
absolutely they did. Yeah.
Vienna's there. You do it. Easy.
Yeah.
And also, you've got far less big actors. I mean, Prestige is.
I had the thought that maybe they did it on location in New Orleans, because New Orleans is quite like kept quite historic. Like the streets are kept. So I don't know whether they.
But Vienna
there.
is very.
I mean, yeah, doing it abroad, I feel like
easy to do.
Easy, and you probably get a huge tax break from whatever government you go to. Yeah.
Well, this doesn't cost anything.
The thing that I said we were going to talk about, the Chinese man.
Oh yeah.
In the Prestige, I have his name, and by his name I mean the name he chose to go by. Chung Li Su is the name he went by. I did not get the Englishman's name, but it's a very fancy name from what I remember. It's like a 3 Williamson.
Double barrels.
Yeah, like so posh. And the story of this guy in the Prestige is that he's pretending to be a Chinese man, and if you look at any footage, he just looks like the whitest guy in the world. It's crazy. It's quite clear footage as well for the time. And basically what he did is he pretended to be a cripple, so he would walk in a certain way with like his knees quite wide open, and he would hide the things that he's pretending to make appear on the table. He would hide between his legs. Yeah. So this is a long con. He is doing it in and out, and that's kind of what Christian Bale's he looks up to it. Like when he sees the show, Christian Bale's like, oh my god, I figured it out. Yeah, he's playing the character in there and out here, and obviously that's what Christian Bale does for his show. But do you want to know how he died? Did you look this up?
No.
I'd like to know. Yeah.
So in the Prestige, they do the catching the bullet trick.
Yes.
And they show you how dangerous it can be, because even though you know you've not left the bullet in there, anyone could put anything down the barrel of the gun, and it could be it's still, it's not a bullet, but you put a button down there and it's still going to kill you. It's still, it's still getting shot. So the only English he ever said in his career is because he did that trick, got shot, and the only words he said in English for his entire career was, "Something's wrong, pull down the curtains."
Really? That's
on stage.
Jesus Christ.
So, but it's quite interesting that they because they lend themselves to the bullet trick, and they show him as well. That I wonder if that's why they put it in there specifically. I mean, I assume the bullet trick was super famous as well, because it's cool. It's a cool trick.
Yeah, they've done they've sort of updated it in other. I've seen like magic shows on TV where they've updated the bullet trick, the bullet catch.
Yeah.
But they've incorporated like panes of glass. So the panes of glass,
it sets off the charge in the glass, so it looks like
it's travelled through the glass.
But it's the same to give that illusion.
Like they have to use an old timey gun, like a musket, or
because it's got the powder,
pistol,
flintlock. Yeah,
that they have to shove the bullet down into.
Because
ramrod it into,
because it's not in there.
Because the ramrod can catch it and take it out.
So it's either got a magnet on the end that pulls the bullet out, but the one I saw was that he caught it in his teeth. Yes. So he like takes it out and obviously puts it in his mouth
gum,
and then gets ready, and then when the charges for the glass panes are set off, he then like staggers back into a wall and then like reveals the bullet out of his mouth, stuff like that.
See, like, that's cool, and it's a good way to, like, for sure, update it. But for me, like, it's not my thing. Whereas the video of the samurai guy who, they don't use a real bullet, they use, like, a pellet gun. But he slices this pellet in half.
Oh,
so sick. Like, for me, that's more impressive because it's so real. And it gives the... I mean, he's never going to be shot with a real gun. Well, I don't know, in this day and age, maybe a madman come up with a gun and be like, fucking slice this, and he's like, I ain't got my sword.
I
so
mean,
he just die.
yeah.
So it's very boring. But like the idea that there is a person out there whose reflexes are so good, and he's such at the height of human capability that he has this ability, which essentially is superhuman, I just find so interesting.
Yeah.
I find that much more interesting. I think this is all very clever and stuff, but I find that
Whereas
so much
the
more
difference
interesting.
between magic is, well, often it is either like the trick, which is a clever someone with like a genius level trick, or it's they're very, very good at sleight of hand / doing stuff. And that's kind of the
and it's against the magician's code,
magic
to reveal tricks like the California one, which I only really know from Arrested Development, which is always very funny. It's very much against the magician's code to reveal tricks.
Well, they sell them and stuff.
They sell them at the end of their careers, and that's how they retire.
One of my
their retirement
substitute
plan,
teachers
basically.
was a magician, but he specialised just in selling tricks, and he did one to me, and he did like.
I mean, that's essentially Michael Caine, though, right?
Yeah, that was the kind of thing. But he was also a substitute teacher. But he did a card trick where I just picked a random card, ran over to the other side of the classroom, and then he would say like, think of like higher or lower than a 7 or whatever. And the first time he did it, I thought properly, and he got it, and I was like, okay, well, you just know my card. And then did it again, and he was like telling me to do it, and I was like, it was like, think higher, and I was like, lower, higher, lower. He's like, you're being a bit like mixed messaged here, I don't really know. And I was like, get out of my head. And I don't believe in any of that stuff, but he was.
I mean, you loved it when
head.
you saw David Blaine or whatever.
I love magic. David Blaine is a bit gross.
Yes, he
and
is.
And that's why I don't like the death stuff, really. I mean, I also don't like horrors, which I'm not looking forward to. But like, I just don't need that level of stuff. I just want it to be cool and clever. That's what I want to see. And I don't really need them to be the whole kind of preamble of like, oh, I could die in a fish tank, so I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Just do something cool.
Well, you have a problem with like the Hugh Jackman going into the.
I don't have a problem
tank.
with it. I just don't think it's necessary.
But that's
I think
how
it's
he,
entirely necessary.
but that's how
to
he
the
gets.
story and the character.
That's how he gets rid of his doppelgangers.
Oh no, I do know. I mean, it's necessary to the film.
Sorry.
I just think for me, as in, if I want to go and see a magic show, real life, I'm just like, I'm not bothered by the jeopardy. I think it's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, when they have the fish hook down the throat and like through the skin, which is like, it's not even illusionary magic. It's like just them knowing their bodies so well that they just plan.
They've trained their.
They've put things in their bodies which is it's another skill. And when I see it, I'm very impressed, but it is a bit gross. It for sure is a bit gross. Yeah.
And in this era that these films are saying, I do believe people die quite a lot doing this sort of thing. So,
yes. Yeah. Well, health and safety wasn't really a big thing back then, was it? So.
Yeah. I mean, certainly not as much. It's pretty gross. But I do actually on it's quite funny when I was looking, because I watched quite a lot of videos about them and how like people rating the magic and stuff. And there's also people reviewing it, and some people are like, oh, the magic in it is amazing and beautiful. And one person who was rating it said, this is of The Illusionist, said, it's a must-watch film, 6 out of 10. which is so funny.
People are so arbitrary with their scores. Like, The Prestige is certainly isn't a 6. Isn't
you got to watch it.
Yeah.
What film would constitute a 10 for that?
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact The Illusionist is a much-watched film.
I mean, when people like hold back on giving 10s and stuff, it's like, oh, I absolutely love this film. I watch it all the time, but there's no way it's a 10 because it's not like a film. You know what I mean? I'm like, but for you, it's a 10 out of 10. Like, I've got plenty of 10 out of 10 films that are not, they're not the pinnacle of filmmaking or whatever else. But for me, like, The Prestige isn't a 10 out of 10 because, this is my second viewing over 14 years. How much can I really like it? But, yes, strong 8, 9,
I can see why
think it's
people
great.
would give it a 10 if they really love that sort of stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
But for people like you're just saying, like, I know people that just never will give out like a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10 because it's like, oh well, it has to be perfect. And I'm like, well, if it's perfect for you, that's all that really matters.
Well, yeah, you're not scoring it for the world.
Yeah, you're
really?
not a film critic. Like, come on. You just got a letterbox.
Well, if you want to see how scoring
literally,
varies.
bro, people on Letterboxd are absolutely savage as well. And like, part of the fun of having that app is like when you find a film like that you want to watch and you go on Letterboxd to look at the reviews or something. It's just ludicrous.
Maybe we'll do a fun little short episode where we go through reviews and just how obscene
so
they
many
are.
reviews.
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. I'm well up for that.
I mean, we can do that, but a preamble to that is so many reviews on YouTube, on videos, on everywhere are just retelling the story.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this person, I was like, this isn't a review. This is just a summary of the. And you're not even. Some of them don't even.
That is a common. I mean, we are reviewing a film, and if you're at this point, episode 3, you'll notice that Joolz very clearly did the synopsis for both films, and in reviews that's like very common. You will do the synopsis and then you will do the review of the film. We've kind of argued that the reason we need to do it is because we're talking about 2 films, and that we need to be clear about what the films are before we start talking bollocks.
Yeah, because
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Whereas in a normal
these
review,
films were released very near to each other, 2004, 2005. Cut that in. That's the link.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the link is everything in this film is a link.
Yeah,
you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But also, those reviews are for like when you go see a film. And that's for like proper critics. Whereas, if you're just reviewing it on IMDb, you don't need to put the synopsis. The synopsis is right above the section of where the reviews are kept. So I think if anyone's looking at reviews for a film, they've already read a synopsis.
I think it's even labelled synopsis on there.
Yeah,
as well.
It goes synopsis and you click on it, and then underneath it goes reviews and you click on it.
So
guys, come on.
Anyone else have any little bits I wanted to go to before we get to scores? This or that thing?
I do have some funny notes.
Oh yes, quotes.
So no, not quotes. Sorry, just
no quotes.
Notes. Gendered handkerchiefs. Did you notice that?
A gendered handkerchief?
Because
when he's like, he goes, "Would you stand up, sir?" And he stands up and then he pulls his handkerchief on. He's like, "This isn't my handkerchief." And then he's like, "Would you pass it to the?" And then, "Madam, would you stand up?" And she pulls out.
Oh,
and they're all laughing at the man because he has a woman's because it's like frilly and whatever and lace and stuff. I thought it was so funny.
I did not get that.
I just thought, there's just always been this stupid stuff just constantly.
But that time is that's a very.
You know what would have made it real? That his handkerchief was pink and hers was blue.
Yeah, but that's
because that got switched around that time, didn't it? Yeah. The replicator, I believe the first time it starts up, it actually has the transporter sound from Star Trek, which I thought was very interesting. Just a little thing for a little nerd like me. Little nerd like me. Just that. Yeah. My notes for I have the note of full penetration for the lovemaking scene in The Illusionist. I just have the prince is a little bitch because he is just a little bitch.
I mean, that's kind of the portrayal of these people, though, isn't it? Which
They were, and like the way that he talks to her of like, how old are you? Can you even bear children? And it's like it's a weird scene to put in, but like that is what they were all. What they were all like.
There's some good quotes from Michael Caine though. He's got some like nice lines and stuff, which I can't remember any.
But I mean the Prince, the Illusionist. Not many good. Not
many quotes in The Illusionist.
We've already talked about the guy from EastEnders, but the Hot Fuzz Farmer is in it. He's the doctor, I believe. Which that reveal, so stupid because Paul Giamatti saw him with a full beard. And then didn't realise him when he had. He still has a beard, just not a full beard.
Oh no, it's not the Hot Fuzz Farmer. It's not. No, because that's what's his face, like Filch from Harry Potter and
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
And it's Ricky Gervais's dad and Derek as well, isn't it? That farmer guy.
Yes.
But who is it? I've recognised it. No, I swear it's. Oh, it's not the farmer. It's the old cop in Hot Fuzz.
Yes.
That's
it.
Sorry, I got mixed up. Yeah.
The one who's like
who's translating the farmer. Yeah. Sorry, it's because they're in the same scene. So I just two old white men. They both look like my granddad.
Simultaneously.
Twins.
So yeah.
What?
But and then I just have a note of the fake mustache. That the prince I think he wears a fake mustache.
Does he?
The reason I'm saying so is because his beard's real. His beard's definitely real.
Yeah.
And I believe he has a mustache underneath, but the way it's kind of shaped and it looks too high off his face, like too high away from his lips. Which, yes, I understand you could probably shape it in a way and whatever, but it doesn't look like connected. Sorry,
I understand.
We're not doing a video, so I should stop gesturing so much. But
it's very funny.
It seems very much on top of his own mustache. It seems very high on his face.
It seems very much on top.
Did you not see that?
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it. Why are you laughing at me?
It's just funny how you're describing it. It's quite funny.
Well, I'm always
much. It's a mustache that would be on top of another mustache.
Well, I'm always on the lookout for stuff like that.
Yeah,
There were lots of,
especially facial hair.
There were lots of. I mean, obviously, Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman do don like fake mustaches and wigs constantly throughout the film, but also I believe they are just wearing wigs at one point.
Yeah.
Like for the majority, like their normal look is a wig because it's easier. It is easier.
Yeah.
Like apparently, like, pretty much if you're a woman in a film, you will just wear a wig constantly, even if it's meant to look like your real hair, because it's easier to wear a wig than do your hair
and makeup.
You damage your hair, so you're pretty much just always wearing a wig.
Yeah,
fun little
also then the actor would
for
have
you
to be there for you to then do the hair on them.
Well, then you got to do hair and makeup for half an hour longer than needs to be. Like, there is a budget and there is a time constraint. I have this is going to be very much in the same vein as the mustache one. Paul Giamatti needs a face wash routine. There is a close up on him, and once again, everyone wears makeup in these films, like just all the time, because that's what it is. His face is
which one's Paul Giamatti?
The cop, the detective.
Oh,
there's a real close up, and like his forehead, I'm just like, just get some face wash on that and a towel, and you'll be smooth as a baby's bottom.
All the time though. You are.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't.
Well, yeah, maybe it does play into that, but because of the makeup, it's because it's like caked on.
To be fair, they probably did have face wash back then. I mean, it's not that long ago.
Well,
not really.
But
I don't think they did.
Well, your face.
They'd have had
they didn't exfoliate back then.
I think they might.
Well, he's quite well to do because he's
a
with
chief
the
inspector and stuff.
Yeah, but
chief inspector.
I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe they did.
They'd have soap.
But yeah,
they'd have soap. Yeah, but the kind of weird smelling soap. It doesn't smell nice. It's like made before they
animal fat.
Yeah, before they like scented it.
Yeah. I just have.
I don't know if you know that.
Do you know enough? Do you know enough to dispute it?
Well, no.
It's made with animal fat. I know that.
Yeah, but he just said he don't scent it. I mean, they don't know that. They might have scented it. They have flowers.
Yeah, the rich people, they'll have perfume.
Yeah, but not as like strongly as it is today. The animal fat cuts through.
It's not as synthetic. It was the real stuff back then. You know what I mean? Yeah. Proper flowers.
They can't get the intensity.
They're just stuffing it with real flowers. Yeah.
It's not imperial leather. Do you know what I mean?
It's imperial leather's not been invented.
It's not sudding up.
Yeah, it's not a nice bar of Dove.
No,
do you know what I mean?
No. I just have Edward Norton accent bad. I think all the Vienna accents are pretty bad.
Either do it or don't do it. I mean,
Edward Norton's in particular is like, it just goes British so much, and it doesn't even sound particularly good. As an Englishman, it doesn't sound particularly good either.
Not as bad as Charlie Hunnam.
No, not as bad as Charlie Hunnam. And then I just have Matt Berry impression, and I cannot remember for the life of me what that's from. In The Illusionist, there's someone that does a Matt Berry impression, apparently. Let us know in the comments below if you know what I wrote 2 days ago that I have no idea what I mean.
Matt Berry impression.
Yeah, there was something at one point.
No,
I don't know.
It might be the. Oh, maybe I'll make you disappear. But no, that was just quite English.
I've just got the bit where his nipple is very pointy,
prominent,
in the sex scene.
It must say pointy.
Yeah, it's got to be.
And I remember thinking that as well. It's like, oh my, what nipples you have.
So yeah, any more before all this or that?
I was really glad that you picked these because I'd never seen them. I mean, the whole point about this podcast is that we're actually trying to introduce each other to new things that we haven't seen and stuff. But these two
mostly going to be forcing each other to watch films.
That'll be the case.
Yeah,
but these two films are brilliant, and I genuinely was surprised that I'd never even heard of either of them. Never heard of
The Prestige?
No, never. I never watched it, never heard of it, and yeah, I'm really glad that I watched it because I think I definitely will watch it again. It was so good.
I don't think at the time The Prestige was actually like super well received.
I'm pretty sure I either I don't think I actually watched Prestige.
Because what?
I don't think I've watched
For
it
this
before.
podcast?
No, no. Oh my god! Fall
Wrapped
asleep.
himself right in it there.
Fall asleep for 3 minutes. And it's your final scene.
Oh, he's
I watched
tripped up at the final
I
hurdle.
don't think I watched it as a child.
I mean, if he hadn't watched it,
You were doing
he's
so
done an incredible
well.
job
Yeah,
with this
yeah,
podcast
yeah,
to keep up with the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Your improv skills are incredible.
Yeah,
I prestiged
Yes.
the Prestige.
yeah.
We listened back to the recording and it's just Joolz going, yes, and.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not saying anything.
Yeah.
He's Christopher Nolan. The podcast.
He's
What a
accepted
twist.
our minds.
Oh my goodness! But you think The Illusionist was? You enjoyed The Illusionist?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, like I wasn't like bored, but I watched that one first, and then I watched The Prestige.
Okay.
So like, but
I'll refer you to my note here, which just says boring.
Yeah,
I think like,
because you said there was.
but I think it was because I mean, had
you?
you never seen it before?
The Illusionist.
Yeah.
I'd never seen The Illusionist. No,
Oh, okay.
I knew of it, and I knew it was the bad version of The Prestige.
Oh,
Some
okay.
people very much prefer and you can see why some people prefer The Illusionist to Prestige because they are very different.
I think like Illusionist is more of a sort of. It's definitely more of a romantic film,
Yes,
and that's what would call out for people who are interested in that kind of film.
Romeo and Juliet,
yeah, yeah.
clever, sort of charming,
yeah,
understated,
costume drama sort of vibe.
boring.
Yeah, but I think because I wanted to give it a chance because I really like Ed Norton. But I do genuinely, I couldn't believe I'd never seen The Prestige because that was brilliant.
Yeah,
it was
that's
so
yeah.
good.
I mean, the way I'm trying to do these films when I'm watching them. I mean, I did have to watch these two back to back, but I'm trying to watch what I perceive as the bad one first, and then the good one. And thank God I did.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like try and think which one will I enjoy the most? Which one do I think I'll enjoy the most? And save it as a nice little dessert. Yeah,
Yes.
man, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dessert.
But yeah, like or
Clear the palate.
or a sorbet.
Yeah, sorbet,
You know,
yes,
a palate cleanser. But no, I just wanted to say I just really, really enjoyed both of them.
Well, if you really like The Prestige, I mean, I don't know how many Christopher Nolan films you've watched, but I think his best use of like time and narrative is the Guy Pearce one, like Memento.
Oh, I've seen that. Memento's class.
Memento
That's a really good film.
Incredible to split up a narrative in such a way and deliver you a little piece of information and for it to make sense. Like we're saying with all his films, it's just incredible.
Because we were speaking about it was Push where there was a bit of like time. Obviously, it was more manipulation of time and stuff.
It's kind of just that end in Push, isn't it? Where it's just like you're not told the whole plan, and then it's revealed that he put soy sauce.
But you've got the complexity of like having people who can look into the future.
Oh
and
yeah,
things
sorry,
change.
yeah.
But in this, obviously, it's obviously not like that. But it's still that kind of non-linearity, and he handles it very.
Maybe
well.
Christopher Nolan would have done really good for Push. Maybe he would have.
Yeah. I mean, he was just a very good.
Because he's never done. I mean, obviously he did The Dark Knight, but like he's never done like truly fantasy superheroes. Like The Dark Knight is, especially his version, is very based in reality. So maybe it would be interesting if he had some weird superheroes that he would play with.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's his
I don't
vibe.
think so, no.
And The Dark Knight's very good, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are we thinking? Will we this or thating?
The Prestige. obviously.
The Prestige. Yeah, man. I mean, like it's
So good, and everyone's great in it.
unequivocally better.
We haven't talked about everyone. Like
Unequivocal.
That was
Unequivocal.
I surprised myself with that.
the word of the day. But yeah, like everyone's great in it. Hugh Jackman obviously is so good at it, and I've
Christian Bale doing an English accent. Don't always get to hear that.
Yeah, no, which is not his accent either, like because he's Welsh. But like Hugh Jackman, perfectly used as the Greatest Showman.
Just like Gareth Bale.
I know I've been making the joke of that he's the Greatest Showman, but he's literally called the Great Danton. That's his like stage name in this film. And I'm sure it played into him getting that film and stuff, as well as being a triple threat, obviously. But talented man. Christian Bale, great in it.
Always good.
He does so well at playing the two roles. It's just kind of up his like his vibe in it. Like that's
Bit
what
weird,
that's
bit
what he
quirky.
enjoys doing, and he just gets to play with the characters, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson is good in it for what the character is,
And her accent isn't bad.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't feel it was bad at
No, I
all.
think it was good.
I thought it was good.
She's quite in quite a lot of films around this time as well. So she's
Yeah, just kind of little. I mean, it's not even a little bit. She's in most of the film.
Yeah.
in a lot of it,
realistically.
yeah. And she plays a fairly significant role.
Yeah,
And she plays it very well. And like the accent, because it is a big thing. Like people don't really, a lot of people don't really think about it, but accents for me are like paramount. If you're not
Yes.
if you're not convincing me, then I can't concentrate on
But
this.
even the David Bowie,
But-
Andy Serkis kind of weird interlude.
David
bit.
Bowie was
David
fantastic
Bowie
in it
was
as well.
great, but he delivers that weirdness quite well.
David Bowie is good in it, but he is a distraction regardless.
But I think that's the
Because
whole
he's
point
David Bowie.
to,
Yeah, but,
and to be honest, I did not notice he was David Bowie until I went back and saw some scenes.
The minute
Oh, really?
the minute he
I'm just
came
so
on, I
bad
was
with faces.
yeah. The minute he came on, I was like, "Let's dance."
It's David.
Literally.
Yeah.
No, Andy Serkis was good in it as well. I don't always like Andy Serkis. I don't really know why. But he
I like Andy Serkis.
he was
I like
he
Andy
was
Serkis
he was
too.
very good in it as well. Rebecca Hall plays the wife, I believe.
Yeah,
She's very good in it. You know, as with most of the films we've watched and most films in general, the women are side things for the main characters to do or accomplish or overcome, blah blah blah. But I think the fact that basically Rebecca Hall and Scarlett Johansson are two sides of the same person, the same way Christian Bale is is two people, and they reflect the different sides of him. I think that works well enough, even if they're not given the most stuff to do. And Rebecca Hall in particular is given the very stereotypical thing of being the one that falls out of love with him, even though realistically she doesn't like the other twin.
The number of things happening in the Prestige is like there's so many characters, there's so much magic, there are so many storylines,
Yeah.
all interweaving, and they're
Michael Caine as well, Greg.
and Michael Caine of course,
Yeah.
which just
Always.
is almost in the background as just a very very good character.
Yeah.
The handling of it is fantastic.
Yeah.
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 And it was very interesting. Didn't fall asleep even nearly.
And this is 2 hours 10 minutes, and the Illusionist is like an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I checked the time. I think half an hour, like an hour in maybe.
Yeah.
And there was a half an hour to go.
and you
I
yeah,
was like, time to get comfy, time to get cozy.
yeah. But yeah,
Bring me my hot chocolate.
I was genuinely like, I did the similar thing. Like looked, and there was only like half an hour left or whatever, and was like genuinely disappointed that it was about to end. I was like, I want more. I want more.
The Illusionist.
No, the Prestige.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You said you like the Illusionist, but you shouldn't.
No, I don't think it's.
You don't think it's offensive?
No, it's like it's just an all right film. I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can dislike it though. Really, it's a bit like. To be honest, it feels a bit like Shakespeare to me. I've never really. I get it. It's very, it's clever. It's good. All
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But it doesn't interest me.
It gave me the sort of vibe that it's the kind of film that if you watched a lot of times when you were a kid, like it's like a classic household, like a classic family film. Do you know what I mean? For some
I think
families.
if my child kept watching The Illusionist, I would be a bit concerned.
Why?
I just think it was a bit odd.
Well, it'd be them wanting to be a magician, but I feel like
That wouldn't be the magician I would want.
there's
Them to be.
definitely better like kids films.
Although I
about
wouldn't want it to be
magicians,
Christian Bale or
surely.
Hugh Jackman in The Prestige either. That would be concerning.
Yeah, they can be Michael Caine.
But I mean, I think it would. Yeah. I mean, the
That's the
Prestige
way-
is a lot
Yeah.
more dark than Illusionist.
Which is interesting because The Illusionist is physically more dark.
yeah.
Very dark.
Quite literally.
Very clever.
Yeah,
Very dark.
very good.
I was
very
concerned
nice.
as soon as the film came on and it was like pitch black. I was like, oh, please, no. And it was.
I mean, I watched it in the middle of the day, so I didn't really have that issue.
Yeah, I could not see my notes,
No.
which is coming across when I tried to read them. So, yeah, we're all agreed. The
All
Prestige
agreed.
All agreed, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we've been agreed every single one so far. We really need to find some that.
I said
of a-
neither to Push or Jumper.
Yeah, well, you have to choose.
I know.
You have
But
to choose.
only when push came to shove.
And it did not. Jumper won.
But yeah.
Alrighty then.
But yeah, fantastic.
So this has been the This or That podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next time for another This or That of 2 films. And this has been Joolz. Goodbye.
This has been Callum. Goodbye.
And this has been Ed. See you later.
Bye. Bye.
And then you can do an outro.
Lovely.